Reading, a digital story by Ashley Johnson. I'm a reader. For as long as I can remember, my passion has been books. I usually read fiction, nonfiction, mystery, or romance. Just about anything. I love to read. Paper books are my favorite, but sometimes an ebook is more convenient. There is nothing quite like the sensation of turning a physical page or bending the binding of a freshly printed book. The ebook is necessary for late night reading when I try not to disturb my roommate with the lamplight, or when I'm on the go and a bulky book is too heavy to travel with. I usually get suggestions on what to read from Goodreads.com. The website is a form of social networking. When a friend rates or suggests a book to me, I am able to ignore it or put it on my want to read list. A book will gain a spot on my want to read list if its short summary captures my attention or curiosity. My favorite book is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Pretty cliche for a pre-law student, but no matter how many times I read it, I still can't put it down. Atticus Finch was the lawyer with unbreakable courage that inspires me every time I read the book. Some of my other favorites are Catcher in the Rye, Speak, the Harry Potter series, The Last Lecture, and Kite Runner. The reader inside of me even enjoys the LSAT reading comprehension passages. Very interesting stuff written about the most random topics, like a passage about meat eating versus plant eating dinosaurs. I hear in law school all you do is read, which sounds pretty good to me. But I don't just read to say I've looked at the words and gathered the general understanding of the text. That's not good enough. I have to comprehend the words, read between the lines, and gather true meanings. Every time I reread a book, it exposes a new joke I didn't catch, a sentence I missed, or a plot twist I completely overlooked. As the saying goes, you haven't read until you've reread at least twice. For school, I highlight my readings to reread them again later. I use tabs, post-it notes, or dog ear pages in order to keep track of great quotations, so I can cite them later in a paper or even tweet it. I reread again and again and again until I truly get it. That's when I have read. In my family, my generation was the first to be read modern bedtime stories. My mother's bedtime stories were recited from memory, an oral tradition. My parents are from a poverty-stricken area in Jamaica, West Indies. My grandparents could not read because they had to work in order to support their family. Being able to read opens many doors. My grandparents were restricted. While I am able to contemplate multiple career paths and travel destinations, leaving Jamaica and facing a world of paperwork, higher education, and job hunting would be unbearable for them. As a book lover, it is hard to see how an illiterate person could survive in today's world. My family history helps me to value my ability to read even more. I inherited the bookworm gene from my mother. At a young age, she dragged me to Barnes & Nobles or the local library in search of a good book. I think that I fell in love with reading because she made finding a good book seem like a treat instead of a chore. My father is also a reader, but of a different kind. He is a newspaper junkie, often reading 5 different newspapers each day. He doesn't read books much, but he has favorites, like Dr. Benjamin Carson's Gifted Hands, which he often rereads. This book tells the life story of Dr. Carson, a world-renowned African-American neurosurgeon. My favorite part of the story is when Carson was in high school begging his mother for a trendy shirt she could not afford. To teach him a lesson, she gave him her paycheck and her bills and told him to pay the bills and keep any leftover monies for the shirt he wanted. He was excited about the deal, but soon realized that her paycheck wasn't enough to cover even the bills. After this realization, he had a new appreciation for his mother and how she managed her household. My father gave me this book around the same age he began to give me allowance in junior high. The values in this story came across clearer because I read the book rather than receiving a lecture from my dad, and I think he knew that. My father also taught me that the value of a good book is not lost when you finish it. It's only lost if you forget what you gained from reading it. My mom never quite grasped how my father and I could constantly reread books, but I always tried to convince her that the second read is even better than the first. I will never take reading for granted. Being able to open a book and comprehend the words is seen as a luxury in many foreign countries. Reading is an invaluable resource that opens many doors. I hope that I can pass on my love of reading to future generations. Although I may not have realized it at a young age, my parents were embedding in me values and habits that would benefit me in the long run, and for that, I am thankful.